Kudlow. China is sending team to Washington to talk trade. Washington, AP. The United States and China are resuming trade talks, raising hopes for a way out of an intensifying dispute between the world's two largest economies. White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow told reporters Thursday that the U.S. team will be led by David Malpass, U.S. Treasury Under-Secretary for International Affairs. Earlier, China said it would send a delegation led by a deputy commerce minister. Ad choice advertising and read invented by Teeds. This meeting would be the first between senior U.S. and Chinese officials since June 3. Talks in Beijing ended with no settlement. The United States has already imposed taxes on $34 billion in Chinese goods, drawing Chinese retaliation. President Donald Trump is readying tariffs on $216 billion more, and Beijing has vowed to counterpunch with its own trade sanctions. Advertisement: we haven't really had a sit-down with them in quite some time at any level. So who knows? But it's got to be a good thing, said Kudlow, director of the National Economic Council. Investors expressed relief at the prospect of a ceasefire in a trade standoff that has been escalating for months. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up more than 365 points in late-morning trading. It's better to be talking than not talking, particularly in a dispute which shows no signs of let-up and where mutual trust is so low, said Wendy Cutler, a former U.S. trade negotiator, who is a vice president at the Asia Society Policy Institute. But she cautioned, we should not expect any breakthroughs at this meeting and keep expectations low. At best, the two sides could agree on future engagement at a more senior level and start exploring possible off-ramps from this escalating dispute. Quote, the United States and China are battling over China's aggressive campaign to challenge American technological dominance. The U.S. charges that China uses predatory tactics ranging from outright cyber theft to forcing foreign companies to hand over technology as the price of admission to the Chinese market. Advertisement efforts to resolve the dispute have bogged down. In May, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin had declared the trade war on hold after China agreed to reduce the U.S. trade deficit by buying more American energy and farm products. But Trump reversed course and announced that the U.S. would go ahead with tariffs on Chinese goods, and Beijing withdrew its offer to step up purchases of American products. The talks scheduled for later this month sound like a lower-level version of what we had in May. They struck a deal and 1 week later the president rejected it, said Philip Levy, a senior fellow at the Chicago Council on Global Affairs and a White House trade advisor in the administration of President George W. Bush. What we've seen in China negotiations is that the president has repeatedly failed to trust his own people. The U.S. trade deficit with China in goods and services, the gap between what the U.S. sells the Chinese and what it buys from them, came to a record $336 billion last year. Trump blames unfair Chinese trade practices for the vast trade gap. We're talking about two fundamentally different approaches to commerce, said trade lawyer Robert Holliman, a partner at Crowell. Trade official involved in negotiations with China. China has a state-planned and state-driven, heavily subsidized and substantially closed economy. The U.S. is in favor of a more open market economy. Can those differences be bridged? Or are they so fundamental that the tariffs and retaliatory tariffs become the norm? By Taboola sponsored links promoted links. You may like these Straits Times Mathather responds to financiers' accusations. These Straits Times unda the new paper Mathather responds to Joe Low's comments about 1MDB linked yacht. The new paper unda Babel. This app will get you speaking a new language in 3 weeks. Bablindo Throne, free online game. If you're over 25 and own a computer, this free game is a must-have. Throne, free online game on WoW. Fashionable, sexiest camo wedding dresses. Fantasy according to Mana. Fashionable unda financial carrier. Snow balance the hard, critical, analytical and problem-solving skills. Bizimba places emphasis on soft people and communication skills. E financial carrier Sundo.